Hi everyone, this is Sujita. Welcome to the FocusNet GRF English Literature channel. Today we are going to see Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. So, introduction to the poem. It is an unfinished collection of tales told in the course of a pilgrimage to Becket's shrine at Canterbury. I already told you about Thomas Becket, how he died and how people built a shrine for him at Canterbury. So now some pilgrimages are going to this particular Beckett's shrine at Canterbury. Okay, so a general prologue briefly describes 30 pilgrims and introduces the framework. So the prologue, there is the prologue to this tale. So there are totally 30 pilgrims plus two. Who is those two? Host as well as our narrator, that is Chaucer. Okay, so many have doubt regarding this, how many pilgrims and totally how much. The pilgrims, if you ask me, that is 30 pilgrims in and excluding the host as well as the Chaucer. Okay, so each pilgrim is to tell two tales on the way to Canterbury and two more on the way back. The teller of the best tale winning a free supper. So they plan to tell two story on their way to Canterbury, and when they were returning they have to tell two more stories, and the best storyteller will be getting a free supper while they were returning back. Okay, so there are only 24 tales, including two told by Chaucer himself. Okay, so general prologue gives an account of the pilgrims as they meet at the tabard inn. So these people are meeting in a tabard inn in Southwark and begin their journey under the guidance of the host. His name is Harry Bailey. So they came from all section of the society, all section. You can see all kind of people from a society. So some people are described. Some people are described in vivid and realistic detail. No, in the prologue, while they were describing about each one, there is very vivid and realistic detail, and it also has combining elements from the traditional representation of social types with individual characterization. While reading this, we can understand the society that Chaucer lived in. So, who are the characters? Who are the pilgrims? Knight, squire, yeoman, prioress, a nun and the three priests, and then monk, and then friar, merchant, clerk, sergeant, Franklin, and 15 to 19 they are five wealthy burgesses who is of different occupation: haberdasher, carpenter, weaver, dyer, tapicer, and then come cooks, shipmen, doctor of physic, wife of bath, parson, plowman, miller. Then you have Reeve and his follower Balif, summoner, you have pardoner. So pardoner is the 30th pilgrim. Then you have Chaucer and the host. So it becomes 32 now. Okay, now let's see the important tales from Canterbury. The first one is Knight's Tale. So the Knight's Tale, it is actually a romance based on Boccaccio's Tessida. Okay, so it is actually not intended originally to be added in the collection, but then the story was very apt to the character of the knight, who is one of the pilgrim. So they have added to it. Okay, so it is how Swan brothers, who are the brothers Palamon and Arcite, they became rival for the love of Emily. These two people were in prison, and through the window they saw this girl Emily, and they fall in love. They both fall in love with the same girl. And they were out of prison. They were fighting over the girl, which was discovered by Theseus, who arranges a tournament to decide who wins Emily. So Arcite, he prays to Mars for victory. But you know what Palamon did? He prays to Venus to get the hand of Emily. Both the requests are granted. How? At sight he wins. At the same time he falls from his horse and he dies. And as he dies and he cannot marry Emily even though he had won, so Palamon got the hand of Emily. So both of the people's requests are granted, right? So let's go to the next tale. That is the Pardoner's tale. Pardoners. It preceded by a prologue in which he explained how he preaches against all type of sin, but he himself indulges in various vices and he begs even from the poor. His tale tells how three drunken men set out to find and destroy death after one of their friends had died of plague. So one of their friend had died because of plague, and they were so angry against the death god or death, say or Satan, whatever it is. So these three drunken people are going in search of death to kill him because he had killed his friend. Okay. So while on the adventure, they meet an old man who directs them to an oak tree where they find a hoard of gold. And friendship comes to nothing now because gold is everything. They kill each other through trickery and treachery just because they need the gold for themselves. So the pardoner, he ends his sermon by displaying his false relics and appealing to the other pilgrims to buy them. So the pardoner is having an ancient religious object with him, but it is not actually an ancient thing. It is a fake. But he is asking the other pilgrims to buy from him. So that's how pardoner is. Let's go to the next tale. The wife of Bath's tale. She is domineering, licentious. She ignores all societal standards and pleasure seeking. She also tells about her 5 husbands. She has married 5 times and is seeking for the next one. Her tale continues. Look at her tale. It also has a theme of women's mastery over men. So her story is a version of the wedding of Sir Gawain and Dame Ragnell. Okay. So the story goes like this. As a punishment for rape, the hero has to discover within a year what women most desire. What women most desire? That's a big question which is not answerable by a man who doesn't know what women thinks. Okay. So he is in big danger because within a year he has to reply. So he goes in search of the answer. Eventually he meets an old woman who tells him that she will give him the right answer, but he has to promise that he will grant a wish to the old hag. Okay, so she gave the answer to him. The hero goes to the court. He gives the answer. The answer is sovereignty or maester, which means a woman, what a woman most desire is independence. The decision she makes has to be from her own. Has to be her own. That is what the desire of women is. So he tells the right answer. Now he has to grant the wish the old hag asks for. She demands that he has to marry her. So there is no other go. The hero marries the old woman. And now as they are lying in bed together, she asks him if he would prefer her ugly and faithful or beautiful and faithless. But he is very clever. He allows her the choice. So this is what a woman need, right? A woman wants a sovereign, wants to take decision of her own. She doesn't want a man to take decision for her. Okay, so now as the hero gave the choice of deciding to her, he is rewarded by having her beautiful as well as faithful all the time, throughout the time. Okay, that's how the story goes. Let's go to the next story. Meanless Tail. This person, he is a drunken, he is a quarrelsome character. He has a broad beard, red as a fox, red in color. So Robin is the name of Miller. He is fond of telling indecent stories, not decent, indecent story. He disrupts the host's storytelling order. So host is having an order to ask people to tell the story, but he disrupts him and he insists on telling the second tale. So he tells a body fabulous, which means sexual as well as comic short story. Okay, so it describes, the story describes the cuckolding of an Oxford carpenter by a clerk, Nicholas. So cuckolding, which means adultery. So Nicholas, he's tricking the clerk to believe that Noah's flood. You know, your Christian people might know it. In the Bible, you have Noah's flood. So Nicholas tricks the clerk to believe that Noah's flood is about to recur, and the carpenter, believing him, sleeps in a tub suspended under the rafter. He even leaves his wife, Alison, free to sleep with Nicholas, whom he doesn't even know who he is. And here comes another character, Absalom. He also tries to win Alison. But Alison and Nicholas, they both humiliates Absalom. So when Absalom stand under the window craving for a kiss, you know what Alison did? She thrust out her backside. He was so upset. Absalom was so upset. He returned once again. But at this time, Nicholas does the same. Nicholas, he thrusts out his backside. Absalom, he brands him with a red hot iron. Now he is screaming, and the noise of screaming wakes the carpenter, who don't know what is happening. He just sleeps believing that Noah's flood is going to occur. He cuts the cord suspending him and he plunges, he jumps from the attic to see what is happening. So that's how the story ends. Let's go to the next story. The Prioress. Eglantine is her name, meaning sweet briar. Briar means thorny plants, but it is sweet thorny plants. Okay. So she follows a polite request by the host to tell the story. It begins with an invocation to the Virgin Mary and tell how, when a Christian child is killed by Jews, the Virgin Mary grants the body the power of song so that it can be discovered and the murders exposed. So once in a time of a period, there lived a Christian child who has been killed by the Jews. The neighbor Jews, they killed the Christian child who is so devoted to God, to Christianity. They killed and they throwed him. But Virgin Mary, she gave the power of song to the dead body of the Christian child. So the dead body is singing. Practically it is singing. So the people who are in search of, the mother who are in search of the child, she discovered the body of the child by hearing the song, and the murderers, the Jews, they were also exposed. So that's what the story is about. Let's go to the next tale, Man of Last Tale. So after a prologue, he complains Chaucer that he had spoiled all kind of good stories. So he is going to tell a story in prose. It's a story of unfortunate Constance So Constance is married to a sultan who was originally a Muslim, converted to Christianity, and now his evil mother, she destroys all the Christians in the court and sets the widowed Constance adrift in a boat. She make her sit in a boat and it was floating randomly. She doesn't know where she is going or will she be alive thereafter. But fortunately, she learns in Northumberland where she miraculously cures a blind man and she even converts her heathen host, that is a pagan host. So she is being taken care of by a person and his wife. So now a knight looks at Constance and he is in love with Constance. But Constance rejected him, and now, because of the rejection, the knight murders the host's wife and puts the blame on Constance. The case go to the court, and king is looking for the victim. So the mysterious voice condemns the knight when he was swearing falsely to Constance guilt. So they found out that Knight was the one who killed the host's wife, and he was killed, and Constance marries the king, and now she is bearing a child when the king is away. Here, king's evil mother interferes with the messages of the king, and she made Constance as well as her child to adrift again. Now, when the king returns, understands what has happened, and he kills his mother. Constance and her son finally came to Rome, where they live with a senator and his wife. And these two people eventually reunited with Constance's husband and father when these two came to Rome in later years. So happily, Constance is reunited with her husband and father. Next tale, Nun Priest's Tale. So priests tell a story of Chanticleer, the rooster. So this rooster is tricked by a fox who flatters him by telling that the rooster's voice is so nice and it asks him to sing, to crow by closing his eyes. So when the rooster closes his eyes, he just carries the rooster and he goes away to eat him. The Chanticleer was also very wise. He somehow persuaded the fox to open his mouth and brag to the barnyard about his feat. So when the fox opened his mouth, the Chanticleer, he falls out and he just escapes from the place. So that's what the story is about. So actually it has its origin in French Roman de Renat. So host is Harry Bailey. So he actually acts as a guide to the pilgrims. He is an impressive man, bold, wise, and well instructed. Even though he takes the tale so seriously, because if anything happens, whatever happening in the story, he involves emotionally. He connects with the stories. That's how the host is. So these are the genres we can find in the Canterbury Tales. The first one is courtly romance that happened in the courts. So it could be connected with Knight's Tales. Knight's Tale is of the courtly romance genre. Fableau, that is comic short story. So Miller's Tale, Reeve's Tale, Shipman's Tale are all fabulous. Then you have Breton Lay. Breton Lay. So Franklin's Tale is Breton Lay. Breton Lay means it's actually a narrative poem. Okay, it's a poetic form, a narrative poem which is related to you can tell that romances. It contains romances. It contains folk tales. So that's what about Breton Lay. Next is saints legends. So it's about some legendary saints. So second nun's tale, prioress tale, or all about legendary saints. The next come preacher's exemplum, which means exemplum means secular tales in verse. Secular, which means it's about religious tale in prose. That's what mean by preacher's exemplum. So that is partner's tale. The next is beast fable. You know about beast fable very well, right? So animal character with human feeling. So that's what is about beast fable. So nun's priest tale is about beast fable. The next comes sermon. So parson, you know what is sermon, right? So parson's tale. The next is oriental tale. So squire tells a story which is of oriental, which means stories from oriental region, you know, occidental and oriental, right? Like I can give you an example like Arabian Nights. The story is oriental. Okay, so I have given you only very important tales. I hope you understand what I taught you. So I think from next day I will be giving you from modern age. So because you know we get very less question from Chaucer and those ages. We get lot of question from modern, postmodern, and all those ages, right? So I might begin from modern age from tomorrow. So stay connected with me. Until then, goodbye.